Okay. How's it going, everyone? Happy Friday. Welcome back to another one of our little Friday podcast style lives here. Jordan, we have to put on a good show today. I was getting some feedback from everyone last week saying that these are actually like the favorite ones that we do. So,
Happy Friday, guys. Woohoo!
Tyro, we're good, man. Where were you last night at the poker tournament? I feel like you're the kind of guy who'd be a shark at poker. It was really fun though, guys. It was an awesome tournament. We had 20 people, 21 people, Jordan.
21 people.
21 people come out to the poker tournament. It went on for a long time, but it was pretty good. Jordan, you had a pretty wild ride there, man. You're like,
I'm telling
I
you,
took you out in the first little bit.
dude, those guys got so lucky, man. I don't know how else to explain it. Like they really got it easy last night, man.
Yeah, what can we say? I'll have to take it sometimes.
Honestly, a little bit of
Danny Bateman made it
noise.
out to the live. I thought he'd be sleeping in this morning though, but looks like he made it.
Oh, dude, and he fooled me. Last night he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna download PokerStars on my phone. Like, what app is it on?" Pretending like he's never played before, and he just comes
You're
in and
kidding.
crushes. Sneaky
You're
guy.
absolutely kidding me.
Yeah, sneaky guy, man.
That's so good. Good job, Dan. Done like a good poker player. So on today's live, guys, we wanted to chat about what we would do if we were starting from scratch again trading, right? Like just introduced to the game, knowing what we know now and trying to, make it applicable to if we didn't know, what would we look at? What would we do? And how would we go about building our careers in this space? So I guess we can start off by saying, I think most people get into trading in really like one of a couple different ways. Would you say, Jordan? Like they're either introduced to it first through the idea of like investing, right?
Yeah.
Which is like more like long-term buy and hold, like Warren Buffett style trading, or they know someone who made a lot of money from it. What do you think?
When you're fresh out, when you're fresh into
Yeah,
the game, yeah. Either like your friends are talking about it, someone that's made a lot of money, or like you said, like you just want to kind of get into investing.
right. And trading is like always this like natural progression from investing. Like I would say, there's nobody who's like investing that hasn't given what we would consider trading a shot, right? Which is like I'm not just buying the market or buying gold in the market and bonds. I'm like, I think this company is undervalued, right? Or I think this company is a good buy. Would you agree? Like even like like our parents, for example, have definitely thought this Aerotime Dynamic. This
That's
is the
the
one.
that's the one. Yeah, for sure. My dad's along a whole bunch of Bosch Health. I think that's what they're called. And like
Mhm.
he likes to do stock picking. He likes to choose those specific stocks he likes to trade. Um, I think that's just it's natural, right? You think
Yeah,
you can pick better
100%.
than everyone else.
Exactly, right? Why not? But and then it's sort of I feel like some people they do that once or twice and like it never gets too aggressive. But then some people start to think this is maybe something more viable, and I think that's where that that first like in like let's dive a little deeper here really comes from, right? What was it like that for you, Jordan?
Yeah, I would say actually like you start off with like just reading a simple book like how to trade, how to make money in stocks. And then like as you keep going back to the bookstore, you start to see all the other books like beside that book, which is like
Hmm.
Make Millions in Technical Analysis, how to become a seven-figure dividend investor. And then all of a sudden all these like different strategies start coming up and it really like opens your eyes, I guess, to what's out there.
Hmm. So what would you say is like so let's talk about two sides of the coin here, right? What do you think are the biggest like pitfalls that people fall into, the biggest traps people fall into when they first start looking into the trading game? And knowing about those traps now, what would you do differently or encourage someone to do differently if they were like day one looking at trading?
Yeah, I was gonna say they overachieve or they try to overachieve, but I don't think that's actually wrong. I think that's okay to think like, oh, I'm gonna make a ton of money because how else are you gonna be motivated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the biggest thing I would say is learning from the right people. So probably one of the biggest mistakes someone will do is um, they will go into, let's say, the bookstore or online or find a group of people and end up reading a whole bunch of information that's actually going to take them down the wrong path,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's probably the biggest mistake I think a new trader has is he's learning from the wrong people. But at the same time, though, you can't blame it, right? You can't blame them because it's hard to know who to learn from when you don't know anything yet. Okay? And that's why, like for example, people like us, Sean, went down a 2 year, or 3 year wrong path before someone comes in and says, "Hey, change course."
Right. So I was actually, that was going to be my follow-up question to you is I would agree that taking in the wrong information at a real is usually the path that I think most people start as well. It's not like an uncommon thing for this to happen. I would say maybe 10 out of 10 traders you meet go down that path, you know? So, and obviously it's tricky to not, especially if, you look around and there's very little signal, lots of noise, which is the way the game should be, right? It shouldn't be lots of signal everywhere because then is it really signal, right? So how do if you were brand new, what would be the first thing you would do, right? Let's say you don't have the skills to be able to differentiate who's, a crank and who's got the sauce, right? How would you maybe the starting point isn't to go pick up the book, right? Maybe that's not the starting point since you can't tell what book to pick up. So let's bring it back a step. Was there something you learned, like a particular thing you learned about, let's say, that changed the way you thought about it? Maybe it was something in poker or, was there something else in the world that you learned that helped you, filter for good information?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think a really important aspect of the first thing you should really do is like get in the mind frame of like game theory, of like that this is a competition. This is not just like, hey, if I do, it's not a test. If I do good, I'm gonna make a lot of money. Right? If I pick good stocks, I'm gonna make a lot of money. I think we should all get in the right mind frame, which is like a little bit of game theory, a little bit of like competitive spirit. And I think a really good way to get into that is learning through sports betting.
Okay.
So there's a ton of books out there where some are older, but that talk about sports betting, and I think you can learn a ton. There's so many applicable or transferable skills and ideas that come from sports betting. So I think that's actually a really good place to start. And not, I guess, but even then at the same time though, right, Sean, you could like go down the rabbit hole, like who to learn from in sports betting. The thing with sports betting though, I feel like it's a controlled environment, right? Where it's, the outcomes are usually binary. Do you win or do you lose? And so for that reason, it's easy to get into like the expected value mindset and, thinking about a little bit of game theory, right? Poker is also good with that too. That it's not about being the seventh best player if you're playing against the top six. It's about being the seventh best player and then going to find worse games. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. What do you think about that? I think like in a fixed environment, those kind of games are good.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think the real key lesson there is you need to do something that gets you thinking the right way about these types of games, right? Which is that game theory mentality, right? So I almost feel like it's a way of thinking about the world. It goes beyond just poker or trading, right? Like, for example, when I learn a new game, I'm like, okay, what do I need to learn here to be competitive, right? To actually have like a shot of being good, and I'm not just necessarily looking at what other people do. I tend to find, tips and tricks and things that help me get better at the game early on because of the mentality I have. And this could be something as basic as like when I learn a new sport, for example, now, right? Like, so for example, trying to learn golf, right?
Mhm.
I understand that if I just go out there and start hitting balls, I'm probably not going to get very good. I need to actually learn how this game works. I need to learn the technique. I need to like learn about what I'm doing, and really understand like how to be good at this thing, right? And like it's the same with like learning how to play pool, everything like that. It's like understand what you're doing thoroughly, right? And I feel like that stems from that mentality of like, how do I be competitive in what I'm doing?
Right. Exactly. Right. And yeah, exactly. Like everyone's out here trying to make money. Right. I don't know one trader that's not trying to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And so how can I be better than this guy? Or where is this guy making a mistake? Right. And then can I capitalize on that? Um, and that's, I think that's really a good, probably the best place to start is once you get into that mentality, I think things become a lot simpler going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can cut out the noise in your learning curve, it's just like it goes exponential.
So, I also think that there's like levels to learning, right? So, for example, you're not going to go and learn PhD level math on day one because that is what it takes. You know what I mean? Let's say that is what it takes. You want to be a mathematician, you're going to need to know this advanced theory, but you still start with 1 plus 1, let's say. You know what I mean? Like it's the only way that it actually happens. And there are a lot of resources out there that I feel like, cover the basics, go over things pretty good. Like if you were to outline a path that you think like it doesn't need to be crazy in depth, like a 5-step path that someone could follow to become competitive in the trading space, right?
Yeah,
And it's particularly the option space, we'll say. What would you recommend?
I would say Aaron Brown. So start off with as what we were talking about earlier, right? Game theory, poker. Read a few books. Okay, read a few books from professionals. And if you guys want, send Sean and I a message, and we will give you guys a couple books. Just the first thing. Then I would say start reading stuff from Aaron Brown. He's extremely smart, and he'll really get you thinking. Okay, and then also as you're doing that, learn about options, right? So you need to actually understand how these things work. So pick up your Sheldon Natenberg. Okay, pick up that book, and then start trading and start trading small, because you need to at the end of the day, right? You need to be able to see how you need to learn how the markets work, right? So getting fills, execution, all the microstructure stuff, and that's gonna be the practice, right? So start trading, and there's a few ways to trade pretty cheaply. Let's say going long strangles or long straddles and delta hedging, right? That's a really cheap way to start learning. Um, and then 5, I would just say do that again. So it would be little bit of game theory, and I would say change your, start to change the first one. But anyways, game theory first, and then it was Aaron Brown, learn to trade. Um, oh, sorry, Aaron Brown, uh, Sheldon Natenberg, learn to trade, and then review your trades. That's actually super important. And then start all over again, and just keep going through that cycle, just changing who you're reading from, and the books.
So I have a couple questions for you. So you said reviewing your trade is important. What do you mean by that? Do you like, a lot of people keep a trade journal. They look back. Uh, I remember you showing me some of your trade, your journaling in the past. Uh, what have you learned from years of journaling your trades? And what do you really mean by that when you're saying people should be doing it? What should they be looking for in their previous trades?
Yeah, I would say um, a lot of the time my journaling would be on execution. because I had my idea, right? My idea was this, and if this happened, I should make money. If this didn't happen, I should lose money, right? Like rarely would I ever say, "Oh, I missed this," or "Oh, I missed that." It would instead it would always be moving forward. Like it wouldn't be subjective. When I say I would journal my trades, it wouldn't be subjective. It'd be like, okay, how are my fills? Right? That's subjective. Um, it would be, uh, what actually happened here? Did it play out the way that I thought it would? Did X and Y actually happen? Yes or no? Right? And if it did happen and it didn't work out the way I wanted to, why didn't it work out? It was very objective. It was, you try to be not subjective at all.
Hmm.
Right? That's where you get into that little bit like of a wheel where you just keep saying, "Oh, I missed this pattern. Oh, I missed this pattern," and you never get better. So
Hmm.
that's what I would say. What was my journaling?
So, well, I've got a few more questions for you. We have some time left. So the next question I have for you is, I think probably one of the most. So recently, I've started looking at Reddit more. Right, looking more on Reddit. We started the Predicting Alpha subreddit. I think that's going pretty well. But I just realized, like, it's amazing how anything you look into, you can find a community for it. And the internet's like just made it so accessible to talk to people who are interested in the same things as you, and
Yeah.
you find unbelievably big communities in the trading space online. Right now, obviously, there's ones such as Wall Street Bets, which have 10 million people on it. There's r
Mhm.
slash options with 400,000 people on it. But then it actually gets extremely like specific, like r slash Vega game, right, which is 4,000 members. Um, r slash Predicting Alpha with 75 members, right? So it's almost inevitable that anybody getting into the trading space who knows how to use the internet, is competent with computers, is going to find these communities online. What are your thoughts on uh, using online communities for support early on in trading and as you become more advanced, picking a community to belong to and trying to extract value from these communities?
Yeah, I think a community is actually really important. Um, that being said, it's extremely important you put yourself in a good community, right? And it's really hard if you know if it's a good community or not, because a lot of time people say, "Oh, this community is like me; they must be good," right? And I think the most important thing is everyone needs to take a step back and read some of the writings from professional people, right? So Aaron Brown, I'm going to keep saying his name, Aaron Brown, Ewan Sinclair, Augustin LeBron. See how these people write, right? The whole point is you're trying to train your mind to be able to see, um, to be able to learn from good people, right? Like that is the biggest. That is like I can't stress how important it is. If you don't learn from the right people, you won't end up going anywhere. You need to learn from the right people, and you need to train your mind to learn from the right people because there's so much noise out there. And if you can't extract the signal, it's going to be a very tough road.
So, what do you mean by noise and signal, by the way? Just for someone who maybe is like, what the hell is this
Yeah,
talking about?
just like in trading, there's like so much noise, meaning non-tradable information. Okay, might look tradable to not tradable. Okay, um, so much randomness. Okay, that is what the noise
Mhm.
is. So, for example, a tweet,
Randomness.
you know, a tweet from our buddies, which I won't name here, uh, on Twitter. Well, that's a lot of noise, right? It looks like, sure, we're talking about kurtosis and all these big words, and it might look like a signal, right? Like, oh, I should learn from this person. But in reality, it's just noise. So you got to really, and so basically, if you think about it, guys, someone let's say, someone who says, "Oh, I think this person knows what they're talking about. I'm going to keep reading their stuff,"
Yeah.
and they spend weeks reading their stuff, okay, versus someone else who, let's say, decided to read Aaron Brown stuff, and in the same week, right, in the same few weeks, he got way ahead. And if you compound that out over, let's say, a few years, well, the person that was like getting caught up in the noise is going to be nowhere when the person who is, riding the signals is going to be quite high.
Awesome. So I want to ask you about something a little bit different now, because I remember, in that interview we did with Hutch, right? So Hutch, I guess when he joined and everything, he was pretty far along in his trading career. Like, he wasn't, new to the game, we'll say. But what he realized from joining Predicting Alpha, and something that his recommendation to people looking to take trading seriously, who've maybe gone through the first couple steps, right? They are starting to think about game theory. They're starting to, they've read some of the Aaron Brown stuff. They understand how options as a product work. They understand what volatility is. What he said the next step should be is get your hands on good data.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? Why would he have said that?
Oh, he's out to lunch. The reason why I think Hutch said that is because you got to become objective, right? Every good trader is objective, at least in the modern times, right? It's going to be extremely difficult to win at this game if you're just saying, "Oh, I think," right? You got to really sit down, look at the data, and say, "What is this data telling me?" Right? What are the actual numbers here? Does it, like for example, Hutch trades earnings moves, right? And when you think about it, you can't just look at the chart and say, "Hey, I think there's going to be a big move or not." Right? Instead, what Hutch says is, "Okay, give me the data. What has this thing actually done in the past, objectively?" Then I'm going to, let's say, add some filters on top of that, and I'm going to come up with a signal of, do I buy or do I sell? And I think that's what he meant is, get your hands on data, right? Get your hands on some real numbers.
So how does someone, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense, right? It's just, I think you put it perfectly where it's like every good trader is objective. And I want to, maybe break that down a little bit. It may not be the most clear for someone who's new to the whole idea of quantitative finance or quantitative trading. When you say objective though, like, isn't trading about creating my own ideas? Like where do I come into the picture if I'm objective, right? Like, are you talking about having an algorithm that I build out that just runs systematically? Like, what do you actually mean by objectivity? And where does my ideas and my creativity as a trader come into play? Are these mutually exclusive, or do these things go hand in hand?
Yeah, I think creativity and subjectivity are two different things. You're going to have to be creative, right? If you're going to win this game, you're going to have to think about, okay, well, where might the next opportunity be, right? Opportunities are always going to be constantly changing. So, you need, the computer can't do that, right? That's one thing that humans are better at is being creative, right? Being creative and error correcting. That's what humans are better at than computers. And so as a trader, we need to think about the idea, right? Where might there be alpha? Why might there be alpha, right? And then from there, use the computer and the data to help you, become enhance that, right? Enhance that idea and actually like make it come to fruition, right? Make it come to life. And I think that's really where the person, the person comes in. They're so important, right? We need the creativity, but you're not going to look at historical earnings moves manually. You're going to use the computer for that.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. So what you're basically saying is like, it would be like this, right? Let's say you wanted to start a business, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say, I don't know, you are walking down the road and you notice that a couple people say they really like a certain scent, and you wanted to start like a brand of like soaps or something. Okay. Right? You're like, I could make a brand of soaps and stuff around this scent, right? Mm-hmm. Subjectively would be like, you heard this guy say it, and you heard this person say it over here. So you go and you invest all your money, time, and resources into building this brand. Mm-hmm. Whereas what you're suggesting, it sounds like, is the objective person would still maybe have that same idea and go, hey, maybe there's an opportunity here to build this soap and fragrance brand. Let me create a survey to send out to a couple of different demographics. Let's gather some information about, like, different age groups, gender, professions, and then ask them questions about scents and see if I can maybe see if this actually applies to a wider audience.
Exactly.
Before investing time or resources anymore.
Exactly. I think that's perfectly said.
Right. I'm still being creative. It's still my idea. It's a layer of analysis I'm adding to my decision making to try and filter out bad ideas and really understand if what I'm looking at is a real phenomena or if it's just something that I noticed for a second.
Exactly. Really well said.
Right?
Yep, I think so.
And I think that's what, as traders, we really need to build to. And once you start realizing that that's what's happening in the trading world, where it's like people have ideas all the time, but what we're looking for are tradable ideas. And the way we find real tradable ideas is by trying to put some evidence to it to either prove or disprove what we're looking at. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden you realize why someone who has a lot of money and is taking this game very seriously would have something like a Bloomberg terminal.
Yep.
Right. It's like all of a sudden it's like, okay, wait, so you're saying a Bloomberg terminal gives them access to extremely diversified data sets, real time, always updated, plus a community of people who are also looking at these types of data sets, who are also paying as much to be a part of that, right? Which is a filter in and of itself. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is why these guys do it. It's because they can make better decisions.
Exactly.
And given the account size, right? So like, let's say you have a Bloomberg terminal, you're probably not trading under a, let's call it 7 figures, right? Probably not. Mm-hmm. Given your account size, the expense of carrying that data cost, right? Let's call it 30,000 a year, 30 to 50,000 a year, is worth even an incremental increase in decision making. Right? If you can make a slightly better decision, that 1 or 2% account value a year you're giving up is worth it, maybe, because A, you'll lose less money in other places and you'll make more money in the places you're looking as well.
Yep.
Right? And that's how you can kind of rationalize how someone actually makes this type of decision.
I think so too.
Yeah. Right? Like, unfortunately, you wouldn't be buying a Bloomberg with like a $10,000 account, but shameless plug. That's why we made Predicting Alpha, to try to make that stuff there. That's the point. So starting from scratch, Jordan, and what do you think about like any reason? So some people, like I know you put a lot of emphasis on reading the books, right? But when you're brand new into trading, you might be looking for something more guided, right? Like people come out, this is why things like mentorships blew up in the last little while with the age of the internet. That's what, like, there's so many resources on YouTube, right? Like they can't all be awful. What do you think out there is worth looking at? Did I cut out or something?
Nope.
Okay. Well, what do you think out there is, no, because I noticed it flickering on my screen too. What resources out there do you think are like worth looking at? Maybe in video format or audio format?
Chat with Traders is pretty good. Is an audio format. Not all. Okay, actually, a lot of them is not good. Okay, no. Chat with Traders, awesome podcast. There are some guests that come on that are questionable, but there are also some phenomenal guests that are on that podcast. That's really good audible. You also want to look at you want to like start looking for people who go on these podcasts. So I'm going to mention his name again, Aaron Brown, right? He's done a whole bunch of podcasts. And any other good resources? Here's a really good one. The Alpha Exchange podcast, such a good resource. such a good resource. In terms of books, LibGen, that's a really good place to find some books if you don't have a lot of money. And I would say David Aronson is also a very good resource, evidence-based technical analysis, just to get you, thinking in the right way.
Awesome. So we have a couple questions here, Jordan, then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thanks for the questions clicker. So question one is, given the competitiveness of the market, would it be more useful to have a great network with people who have ideas instead of coming up with ideas myself and competing against the absolute best?
I think so too. I think that's, I agree with that. I mean, some of my trades this year have come from one guy who's, basically been feeding me the signal, and I've just been hitting it. Right. So I think, it's good, but at the same time, he's just not going to keep feeding. And this is, I'm not paying for the service. It's just a community. At the same time, he's just not going to keep feeding me signals forever if I don't reciprocate. So I need to be able to come up with my own ideas, and that's going to attract people who also have good ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sort of like, you want to have a seat at the table, but you don't get it by chance. And you definitely don't get the seat at the table if you don't deserve the seat at the table.
Exactly.
But you definitely want a seat at the table.
Yes.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. So we got another question here. I think this is a great one too, Jordan. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you transfer the theoretical knowledge from the books to actually trading? What would be your process for doing that?
I think trading would help. So it's all about like connecting the dots, right? There's a lot of things you'll learn. So for example, the health sector in terms of, we'll use the health sector, but there's also another sector that's really helpful in trading. Okay, I can't come to my mind, but anyways, the health sector.
Insurance?
No. The health sector, you actually, for statistics and stuff like that, it's
for research.
There's some really applicable methods that they do over there that you can use in trading. So it's really all about like trading and reading as much, because you like, for example, you'll be placing a trade one day and then something will happen. I don't know what it is, but maybe you get filled weird, or as you were looking at a stock, you accidentally found another stock and you were able to make this connection because of something that happened or like that you read about somewhere else. So if you keep trading and you keep reading from good people, you're going to be able to make those connections. Sean has good quotes like, in theory, what is it, Sean? The theory practice one?
In theory, practice and theory are the same, but in practice, they're pretty damn different.
Right. So I think, if you just read, okay, there's someone actually at Breaking Alpha that, this is happening too. If you just read everything, and then we said, okay, go trade, you probably wouldn't be a good trader. And if you just trade and never read or never study, you're probably not going to be a good trader. You need both. And it's because you'll be able to make different connections.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jordan, I got one last question for you. Put you on the spot. What are you reading right now?
I'm reading a sport. I'm reading Fixed. Let me pull it up here. I posted it in the group yesterday. Let me get the name of it for you guys. I'm reading Joseph Buchdahl.
Don't butcher it.
Okay, yeah. I'm reading a book by Joseph B. And it's called Fixed Odds Sports Betting.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone. That's going to be the live for today. If you don't mind, I'm seeing 10 viewers. If you can drop a little like on the video, it's always appreciated. And Jordan, this was a good podcast, man. We will see you again next week. Same time, same place.
Same time, same place.
All right. See you, everyone.
See you guys. Happy Friday. Woo!